welcome to this edition of Your City in Action. I'm your host, Marnie Ryan. Today on the program, I have the wonderful opportunity of interviewing City Commissioner Mr. Randall Hardy. Hello, Randall, how are you?
Fine, thank you. I'm glad to be here.
I'm so glad you're here. It seems like just yesterday you got on the commission.
Seems like yesterday to me as well.
How long has it been?
Well, it was the middle of April when I took office, and so the time's gone by really quickly, but we've covered a lot of ground.
You guys really have. That's one thing that has really surprised me about this commission is a lot of really big issues just seem to just come your guys' way. Did you know this? Did you have an idea that this was going to be your commission so early on?
Not really. The health department really blindsided me, and frankly, I did not have enough experience under my belt when that one came along, and so I had a pretty steep learning curve when that happened.
Well, you know, I just think it's amazing, first of all, that anybody chooses to serve on the city commission. You know, as someone who, is a citizen who just tapes the meetings, there's so much that happens that I think people just don't realize. And I must say, I'm also impressed too, because not only are you live on TV, you have different press there, but public forum where people come up to the podium. Are you ever surprised by that? And sometimes the things people say or maybe some assumptions that are maybe possibly made? Well,
sometimes, and I do learn from people's comments. The things that surprise you're not prepared for. But I have learned quite a bit about issues from people walking up to the podium, and frankly, I'm impressed by people. There are different ways to express an opinion. And the one that's the most honest, I think, is when a person's willing to walk up to the microphone, state their name and address, and then say what they think. I listen most carefully to those comments.
That's wonderful. Now, tell me this. What made you decide to want to run for City Commission?
It goes back about 30 years.
Wow.
I was actually, I moved to, our family moved to Salina back in 1980. And I've always had 4 priorities in my life. One is to be a good dad. The second one is to be active in my church. The third was to be active in my community. And the fourth priority was to be active in my industry. And so I got active into the church almost immediately. And back in 1985, I decided, well, my kids are going to school. Why don't I run for school board? So I did, put quite a bit of effort and time into it, and I lost. And so about 3 months after that happened, someone called me up on the phone and asked me, would you like to be on the Recreation Commission, as it was called at that time? And I said, well, I guess that's another way I can serve my city. So I signed up, and I was on the Recreation Commission for the next 13 years.
Oh, my goodness.
And so I got off of that, and I said, well, what can I do now to help the city? And so I signed up for the Board of Zoning Appeals, and I was on that one, I think, for 8 years. And then after that, I said, well, what can I do now? And so I signed up for Arts and Humanities Commission. And so I was on that, and I've segued from that to the Arts and Humanities Foundation, and I'm chairing that right now. But so actually, my decision to run for the commission came from the culmination of all that. I asked myself, well, you've been doing this for darn near 30 years. Isn't it time you took advantage of all that experience? And so I said, well, and I looked, and the other part that was weighing on me was I didn't see enough candidates, enough choice for the city on this particular election. So I said, I just need to do this. And so I walked down to the City County building and put my name in the hat and ran. It was a very interesting learning experience, very educational for me. And I came in third, which gave me 2 years, a 2-year term on the commission. So
and you'll be mayor, won't you?
No.
You won't be mayor? I thought you would.
No, the 2-year candidate is never mayor.
Really? No. Do you like that, or how do you feel about that?
Well, there are advantages and disadvantages. The big disadvantage is in another year, if I choose that I like this well enough, I have to run again. Put the yard signs out again and all that kind of thing. But the plus side to winning is that I have the ability to gauge my effectiveness and also how much I really enjoy it. I could see people getting burned out on this job as well. And so I have the 2-year periods kind of as a trial run, and then if I decide I really enjoy it, I can try again.
Now, some of the things, like, in the past I've spoke with Commissioner Blanchard, and I was very surprised to learn how much reading city commissioners have to do. I mean, not that I don't think you go into meetings prepared. I know you do. I mean, I know you get your packets of information and so forth, but I was just really surprised because he'd mentioned that it probably one of the things that he was most surprised about was the time commitment just in the studying the issues. Does that kind of your experience, or what are your thoughts on that?
That is my experience as well. I know that you could probably wing it if you chose to do it that way, but I don't dare. I like to go into the meetings prepared, and a lot of times I'll have questions ahead of the meeting that I need to have answered before the meeting comes around, and so I'll seek out answers and talk to people ahead of the meeting over the weekend, and that really tends to get me prepared for what's to come.
Now, you kind of mentioned the health department a little bit. You know, it's so, there's so many different, there's been so many different opinions and views and so forth on that. Do you feel like, I guess not to curse anything, but do you think there's any big issue like that coming in the near future that you have any idea about? Or
there's a lot of issues.
That big, though, that you can share with us?
Probably, maybe not that as contentious an issue, but there are big things on the back burner anyway. A lot of things tied to our comprehensive plan, and some things that are on the front burner, actually, like the recreation center that's being talked about. So I have a feeling there will always be something like that.
Now, do you ever feel that people treat you differently because you're a city commissioner?
Some do, some don't, and my good friends, they'll treat me mostly like the same old me. It's the people that I'm just getting to know as a result of being on the commission, that things are a little bit different, and I'm just trying to figure out my way with relationships with people that want to know about something or want to ask about something and that sort of thing. But I could just consider myself a normal person. I don't feel like I'm in any exalted place. So and that's the other thing that I think was kind of a surprise to me, is that you're elected and all of a sudden you're supposed to know stuff, or you're supposed to be something that you don't even know what you're supposed to be yet. And so that's one major difference, I think, between the City Commission and the County Commission, where the City Commission worries almost exclusively about policy issues. And we have a city manager then that pretty much runs the place. And so we don't really worry about being on a search committee to hire a department of the head for utilities or whatever. We just leave that to him. And then we worry about budgeting priorities, strategic planning, all of that kind of thing. And so that actually makes it quite a bit easier for a city commission person.
Definitely. Now, tell me this. Do you get contacted a lot, like at home or like in public? Like I've asked other commissioners, like for example, if you go to Dillon's or Target, can you just go someplace and still be somewhat anonymous, or do you get recognized and people want to talk issues?
Well, about 50% of the time, I think. Last night I was at Dillon's and there was a contractor in there, and I said hello, and he started talking to me about some of the things he'd like to see changed in his relationship with the city, which is great, because I think that's one of the things that we are there for, is to hear from people that are feel better about coming to a person they know rather than trying to work through the telephone system of the city county government. And a lot of times then we will stay on an issue if it's an important issue for the city, not just for one person perhaps. And so we can see change that way, and as people see that we are able to make some changes, then they feel more comfortable coming to us or calling us. I get very few calls. It's mostly related actually to my Facebook page.
Really?
I have a Facebook page that I've started before the election, actually, so that people would have a chance to get to know me. And after I was elected, I said, well, what a terrible thing to waste if I just shut it down. So I've kept it up. It's like a journal or a blog. And so I'll throw questions out there, ideas, and see what sticks. And there's a lot of interest in that.
Really?
So I've maintained that. I post something generally every day.
Really? Well, that's awesome. Now, I always find it interesting, again, like I said, a lot of people don't know when they watch, the meetings on TV. We're in this small room, in the back of the City County building in room 107. And so I have 3 cameras where I can see, I sometimes see, when we always have the camera on whoever's talking. And it always amazes me how different people, especially in the audience, because we don't get a whole lot of audience shots, how they may, it's like you can almost, even though I'm in that little glass room, or the room with the glass window, you can almost feel the energy shift when there's, something that maybe, I don't want to say controversial, but something that maybe is not clear or somebody has an issue on it. Do you feel that when you guys are up there or when you're up there? Can you feel sometimes like if there's just, I guess, not to just talk about the health department, but that definitely was a pretty intense issue that drew a lot of, public concern and questions and so forth. And could you feel it when you guys were up there and
Oh,
the
absolutely.
energy in the room?
Oh, absolutely. If we're talking about that versus awarding a bid to a landscape contractor, it's a totally different world, and it takes a different mindset and a different level of focus. And a lot of times, then it's not just the commissioners taking turns discussing an issue and asking questions. We're getting a lot more information from the audience that we have to digest and respond to. And so it's quite a different situation.
I bet. Now, is it too soon to tell if you feel like you'll run again?
I would say right now it's 50-50. It's too early to know. I like it. I enjoy it. I ran on a platform. And of which none of the things have come to pass. I'm still working on them, but I find out that I can make change in Salina, hopefully for the better. It's really nice, a really nice place to be, because if you, for instance, I would like to attract and retain more youth in Salina. And about the best place you can do that, the best platform, is the City Commission. Because if there are things that you really care a lot about, all you need to do is convince 2 other people that's a good idea, and there's a good chance that you can bring that about. So.
Well, I often, I hear a lot of different things. I'm a transplant. I'm not from Salina. I'm not even from Kansas. And, I had family that is here, why I moved here. But it's been a very nice, very welcoming town. But, I'm not maybe in the demographic you might be targeting. I'm a mother and a little older. But, but it is a really nice community. And one of the things I often feel that Salina is, as a community, we are so very fortunate to have. The community really seems to care. And I don't just say that as a feel-good statement. Our community members always seem to just come in great stride, on issues that are really important. And it does surprise me sometimes the things that people decide to go to commission meetings on and not, maybe it's work schedules or I don't know. But, you don't, I mean, it's known there's homeless people in Salina, but you don't see that. Salina isn't an unkept town. There's been things like, is it the fall fix up and the spring spruce up, where all these people in the community, all walks of life, all ages come in to help out. I mean, I just think that's wonderful. And I always say Salina is such a nice, big, small town. And, but I just think I would assume, and I'm totally assuming, as a commissioner, I bet you see even more of that. I mean, I know you've lived and been involved in Salina for years, but just the dedication that people have, and I bet from a lot of different levels, like especially like the city staff and so forth. I mean, did you maybe you did because you were in so many different commissions, but all the different people that work together just in the city, on the city side of the city county building, that get all the information ready for you guys, and I mean, I'm sure that's not a small task. I've seen your agendas and your packets. I mean, not the full thing, but it's just like, wow,
I sometimes wonder how much time staff actually has to devote to our packet, because there's so much information in there, and they've had to do so much research themselves in order to get the packet to us so that we can make decisions by the following Monday. It's an amazing task, it really is. The other thing that's kind of interesting, that if you're on the commission versus not on the commission, is that all of a sudden I'm on a lot of mailing lists. And not because people are wanting to ask me for money or time or whatever. Of course, I do that on occasion, but we are on an informational basis. So anytime that something's happened to clean up the river, for instance, we'll get an email about it. If the airport authority is meeting, we get their email and packets. So I get all the packets from all of the committees and commissions.
Oh my gosh.
And I'll look at them, and every now and then I'll say, oh, that one's kind of interesting, I'll go. And so in addition to my committee assignments, I've gone to other commissions as well, just because there may be an item that is of interest or could be of interest to the commission.
Now, since in April it'll be your year mark for getting elected. So far, what would you say is probably the moment you've been most proud of as a city commissioner? I would throw out. It's kind of interesting. When the Blue Sky Brewery was setting up shop, I felt like it was an important thing for them to be able to sell their product on Sunday, not just serve the product on Sunday. And so that put us into a little bit of a dilemma, because if we allowed Blue Sky to sell product on Sunday, we ought to allow all of the liquor stores in Salina to sell on Sunday as well. And so I started thinking to myself, you know, every time I go through Lawrence on Sunday and I see all these liquor stores open, I'm thinking, why can't we do that? And so I said, well, let's do it. And so that was probably the first thing that I had some influence on. So, you know, it's not a big thing, but it's a thing that's really been kind of fun in the commission. You know, you're part of every decision really that's made, but I guess that's one that I had more of an influence. And actually, in spring, we're going to be extending some outdoor dining downtown restaurants, and I'm a big pusher for that, because I have a feeling that it'll be important to the young people in Salina. It's something to kind of a hook to keep them here. So we're likely to see more outdoor dining, and that would be something I'm proud of too. Well, good. Now, what is your relationship like with our city manager, Mr. Jason Gage?
Oh, I would say very good. Commissioner Blanchard and I, in fact, have a standing meeting with him every Monday morning. We go through the packet and we'll talk about items on the agenda. We'll ask him questions, and really it's a very beneficial thing for me, because I'm the kind of person that likes to think while he's talking. And on the city commission, that could come back to bite you every now and then.
I bet.
And so I get a lot of my thinking time done during my meeting with City Manager Gage and Commissioner Blanchard. And so by the time I get to the meeting, then I pretty much processed all of the information. And so I'm more presentable then, I guess. Yeah. So I have a dress rehearsal every Monday.
Well, that's a very wise thing to do. Now, you know, it amazes me too. And again, until I, worked at Access, I had no idea about this. You know, sometimes the city commission meetings may seem like they're a little lengthy, but
a little?
Well, I will say in fairness that I no longer have the record for the employee at Access TV that's filmed the longest city commission meeting. That would go to Mr. James Cash Hollister. James Curtis. I call him Cash, but anyway, it was the one that was like 4 minutes shy of 5 hours. That was definitely a record since I've been here at Access TV. But in addition to, regardless of the length, whether it's 2 hours, 3, or almost 5, you guys have study session before that. And so you really, that's a long day for you.
We'll start at 2 o'clock with a study session more often than not. But the other part you're forgetting is that we often have executive sessions after the meeting.
That's true, yes.
That don't make it to television, and those sessions can last a couple hours. We have, I remember 2 or 3 times that we would go at 2 o'clock and get out around 10.
Wow, that's a full day of work.
No. They do give us pizza if we stay that long. No.
Well, that's nice and that's good. Do you ever get any questions about, like, would you ever want, now that you've served on the city commission, would you ever want to be a county commissioner?
Heavens no.
Can I ask why?
Well, there are a couple reasons why. And I have, one of the planks that I ran on was making government more efficient. And I guess that is a way of saying, well, I'd really like to have one government instead of two, which would imply consolidation. I don't know how easy it would be to have that come true, but there are some ways that we can help. And one of the things I really enjoy about City Commission is that with 5 members, I have somebody I can call, I can talk to, and not get into trouble.
Yeah.
and also, when we have 5 people sitting behind the dais, we get a wider range of discussion than if only 3 people are sitting there. We had one meeting when we did have 2 commissioners missing, and I was thinking the whole time, I wish the other members were here, because I enjoy their discussion. Everyone comes to the commission from a little different perspective, and so if someone's not there, it's missed. With county commission, it's not available to them.
Yeah.
And so one thing I would like to see, if we can't have consolidation of the 2 governments, would be for the county commission to expand to 5 members.
That would be interesting.
From its current status.
What are your thoughts about the meetings being at 4 o'clock in the afternoon? Do you think that's accessible for all, or do you think it matters? Or
I don't know that it really matters a lot. You hear about it, and I think in theory it would be great if we met at 7. But also in theory, I don't think anybody would sit there past midnight.
Yeah, that's true.
And so the way it's been, if people are interested in coming, they can get off work and come down and catch most of the meetings still.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of having an agenda item that's that part of the meeting where people can make it down there. But I have a feeling that people more or less trust the commission to do the right thing, and if, as long as everything's running pretty smoothly, they say, okay, that's good. I just don't know that we would have an outpouring of audience if we had the meetings at a later time. I really don't. I never attended meetings. I won't say never, rarely attended meetings. The 35 years leading up to the election.
Did you did you mostly get your information about, like, on the website for the city website concerning meetings, if you had a question about something, or
mostly calling people. That's usually the easiest way to do it. I have a couple of us have an issue with the city website right now. And, we're big on citizen engagement. I think that was also communicated as part of our strategic plan for 2014. We want people to be able to easily find anything they want on our website, to have access to any kind of information. There are things that I will look for on that website I can't find. And some of the things I find were last updated 3 years ago.
Oh, wow.
You can't have that. I mean, then the website is of little use. And so we're working to make it more beneficial for more people. So I just started resorting to calling people and getting my information that way. But things are likely to change in that regard.
Goodness, it always amazes me how, and I think I said this earlier, how people, choose to serve, because you really are serving your community when you're a city commissioner. It's not like you just show up for a couple hours and sit behind a desk and make decisions. It's so much more involved than that, and it surprises me when people say or express that they don't feel like the commissioners listen to issues. I've seen countless meetings where people, like you say, you really listen to the people that are talking on public forum. I've seen numerous times where you can tell a shift or a change of thought or a different idea that commissioners have. And so it does surprise me that when you sometimes hear that, or people say in the community, oh, well, I didn't know about the meeting. how can you not know? It's in the paper. I mean, you can go to the website. You know, I mean, I just feel like there's a lot. Maybe I have a bias because you know, we're in that little room every Monday that you're there, but I feel like the city does a good job in informing the community about the issues.
I think that the community and society has changed so that they don't expect to be communicated with in a certain way anymore. And it's our job to find out what ways are most effective in reaching the community. And I have a feeling we're not doing a very good job of that, the way we're doing it right now. And that's why I was thinking, I mentioned to you earlier about even with the television broadcast, if we could link that to our agenda.
Yeah.
So that if people are interested not in hearing 4 hours of something that they don't care about, but the 1 10-minute segment that they do care about, they can go there and find that.
That would be good, and it is possible. I have a wonderful operations manager, Mr. Aaron Carter. I'm just totally mentioning all the staff today. This is great, but he tells me it's possible. So
yeah, well, I'm hoping it can happen.
I know. Well, you know, you've mentioned it. We've mentioned it. It's going to happen. No pressure. But really, it would be a very useful tool. I mean, not to say that they would not want to watch the whole 4-hour meeting. As riveting as they are, because they are at times. I mean, I will say this, out of this commission, I do think it is probably one of the most diverse set of commissioners. Everybody, in my opinion, for whatever my opinion means, but seems to be really open-minded and brings something very different to the table, and the way they think about things and the questions that they ask or the comments that are made. It really does seem like a good representation, I think, of just a lot of diversity, which I think is, because, you know, I've heard this a lot, not being from here, but I've heard a lot of times in years past that people just felt like there was one mindset or frame of mind in the city commission. And I certainly don't see it. I mean, what do I know? I mean, I'm not city commission material, but just in the years of taping it, I just feel like all of you really do care. You really do listen. And if you're not, man, boy, you have fooled me. I'm just telling you, because you guys, I can see it, and not just because we see the little different, you know, cameras and that we can zoom in and all that. I've seen it numerous times in different issues, and I'm not just talking things like health department. I mean, you know, a really good example too is, you know, like the fluoridation. You know, I mean, that group kept on coming and expressing concerns, and you had a forum about it. I mean, that in itself, because, you know, not that I'm well versed in this, but I don't think a really huge part of our community is as interested in that maybe, but you guys, you had a group of community members that were really interested and wanted to get information from you, or have you guys hear their information, and you guys did it. I mean, that's great. I mean, where else can you do that? I mean, you can write blogs and you can write to the paper and you can make a show on Access TV, but I mean, but to really get that kind of communication, I mean, that's really, you know, your local government listening to what you have to say, and that's got to be a good feeling on your part, I would assume.
Oh, absolutely. And the other part of it is, take fluoridation for an example. We as commissioners did a lot of research on our own, and plus we were given a lot of information so that we could come to our own decisions, and whether that's a consensus or not, I don't know. But, and we toured the water department, and we saw the fluoride, and we, you know, so we had access to all of the information and a lot of opinions, and so that's one place where I think it's great to have a commission just to put the information out to the public and have an up or down vote. I guess that's okay. But I don't know that the public in general would really be interested in going through that educational process before casting the ballot. And so we are, and that's where I feel the commission can really be a barometer for what's good for the community. You know, because we examine the topics upside down, right side up, and backwards and forwards. There's not a heck of a lot we don't know by the time we're done with the topic. The other thing I was going to mention too, that we could that I'm glad about the commission is that we're nonpartisan. My philosophy with the city commission is that potholes are not partisan.
That's a good point.
And I would say 95% of the stuff that we deal with is all about services. Very little of it falls into the realm of whether abortion or whatever else that the state worries about. That never enters our little picture here in Salina. And so I really enjoy that. And also, because of that, I think that we get this diversity on the commission where people are elected, hopefully, on their character and not necessarily what party they signed up for.
Yeah.
I don't even know what parties. It's never a discussion item for us.
That's good.
As commissioners. So yeah, I do enjoy that.
That is awesome. Okay, now, I always save these for the end.
Okay, I knew there was
What's she gonna ask? What is something that the community at large doesn't know about Commissioner Randall Hardy that you feel like telling us on Access TV?
Well, I am a newly avid camper.
You are? I've never been camping in my life.
My youngest son, 2 years ago, said, he just got this wild hair and said, "Dad, you want to go on a camping trip?" I said, "Oh, sure, let's do that, Thomas." And it turned out to be 3.5 weeks.
Oh my goodness.
And I got back and I lost, it's a great weight loss program, lost 10 pounds.
Wow.
Hiked a heck of a lot, did 6 national parks, and I can't get it out of my blood now.
Oh my goodness.
So,
like, do you you true hunter gatherer? Like,
oh
no, no, okay.
No backcountry stuff.
Okay.
we pitch our tent about 20 yards from the car. So if worse comes to worse, that's we're there. And I like golf.
You do?
That may not be a surprise, but I played tennis when I was younger. I actually had my boys try out for tennis and play tennis in high school.
Oh, cool.
Because I needed tennis partners. And so I grew my own.
That's awesome. That's a good idea. Now, do you have any particular thoughts or feelings about, I don't know, what's something, well, you mentioned the rec center. Do you think this is good for Salina?
I think intuitively, I would say that when I was on the Recreation Commission, there was a special study done, I think in 1988, that demonstrated that there was a need for the Recreation Center or some type of facility. And I think that is something that probably should happen in Salina, but the request for city involvement is so large. I think that we really need to have a lot more information before we can go forward with something like that, like a feasibility study. I think would be good. Because we can't spend money with the size of investment that we're talking about without knowing a lot more information.
Another kind of, I wouldn't say silly, but another question, maybe not super serious. Have you ever been to Kenwood Cove?
I haven't.
You have not?
I've driven by. I actually went to the opening day where then Mayor Aaron Peck gave a little announcement. And that actually got me sort of interested in the commission at that point, actually. But I have a feeling it's coming because I've invited my grandkids to come out next summer for boot camp. And that would be a natural place to take them.
They'll love it. My daughter is 9 and she loves it. Although I will tell you, I've been there, but I've not been in the thing that they refer to as the toilet bowl. That thing concerns me. Yeah, I've been on the lazy river, but those big tubes, and then there's that big, is it purple thing?
Yeah.
I fear my back. I fear for I'm sure it's safe, but I just see that and I think, now pass.
Yep.
Because people just drop out of it, and it just. I don't know. If I'm going to fall into something, I want to kind of know what I'm getting myself into. But so I take everyone's word that it's fun.
I think it's a great asset for the city. And in fact, now I think there's some discussion behind the scenes of, well, what can be the next attraction for it?
It is a lot of fun. In fact, to be honest with you, I'm not really like a water park type person, but when my daughter in fact, the very first year she went, I didn't even go with her. What kind of a parent am I? But the next summer we went, and It was a lot of fun. I was really surprised because that really isn't maybe my thing, but it is a lot of fun. So your
Well,
grandkids will love it.
And my kids, water park was part of an annual trek down to Texas, actually.
Really?
We would go to something called Wet and Wild
Wet and Wild.
every year. So I've actually kind of missed it, frankly.
Really? Well, you will love Kenwood Cove with your grandkids. It'll be awesome. Okay, now we've covered a lot of territory. We've talked about you and your commission and your highs and the different aspects and things. And you have a new love for camping. Is there anything you'd like to mention before we wrap things up?
Well, one of the things that I actually ran on, I think will come to pass, and hopefully not in the too distant future, and that is a grocery store for downtown.
Really? That would be wonderful. You know what? Until Dillon's closed down, I had no idea how much I used it because it's just down the street from work, and it's just nothing. You know, if I forgot to make a lunch or something, just go to Dillon's, and now it's not so convenient anymore at all. So that would be wonderful. Any idea like when, or is it too soon to tell?
I would say sooner better is probably closer than later.
Good.
But I don't have a date. None of us know exactly.
Wow.
But
That's very encouraging.
We have been pressing on that issue because I think it's vitally important for downtown, not just for the people. I mean, there was a wide population that would walk to that grocery store.
Yeah, definitely.
But that's not even counting the people that would drive east on Iron on their way home and stop by Dillon's and buy something.
Definitely.
So
Definitely.
It is. I think it's quite a needed service.
Well, awesome. Well, that is very encouraging to hear. So I've learned a lot about you today, and I want to ask, will you come back on again?
Sure. Why not?
Sure, why not?
I'll come back with more experience, more knowledge, and I'll probably sound a lot more intelligent.
Oh, you sound very intelligent all the time. That's good. One little thing, if anybody knows this, if they ever watch the city commission meetings, if there's ever a correction that needs to be made, like a grammatical error or something, you always catch them.
I was an English minor in college. and so when the minutes come up in the consent agenda, everybody looks over at me.
I think it's funny.
I think, it's actually, the city clerk department has actually become, quite a bit better at the minutes because of that. I mean, they have to look more carefully. They know I'm going to pull them. So.
Who knew? I don't know if anyone's ever done that before, so that's very good.
Well, I read them. I think, that's our record. And I want it to be correct.
That's good.
Oh,
See?
well.
No, I didn't know about that. You said an English minor in college? Very good. What was your major real quick?
Psychology.
Psychology.
Undergraduate, and then I had a master's degree in business.
Wow. See? This is good. Selfishly, I've learned a lot about you today.
All right.
Well, Commissioner, thank you so much for coming on the program. I really appreciate it, and we will have you back.
Thank you. I enjoyed it too.
Thank you. Thank you so much for watching.